I used to be a broke 18-year-old, getting pepper sprayed and drinking bottles of hot sauce for TikTok views, but then I joined the military and decided it was time to get to work. Now I'm 23, I've bought 2 homes, and I'm making over $50,000 a month while being active duty. And you may be wondering, how was I able to accomplish this in such a short amount of time? Well, let me just get one thing straight. It was not a short amount of time at all. It was actually 5 grueling years of working like a maniac and constantly being afraid that I would never be able to accomplish the one thing that I always felt like I was put on this earth to do. You see, I probably felt the same way that all of you feel right now. I always knew that I was going to be successful, but I just didn't know what exactly I was going to have to do to get there. The things I'm going to be sharing with you today could have gotten me to $50,000 a month within 6 months instead of 5 years. You see, during this video, you're going to start to realize that I'm a lot like all of you. I joined the military fresh out of high school, and I made a lot of the same dumb mistakes that most people make in the military. The only difference between me and most people is that while I was making these stupid mistakes, I was also trying to find a way where I could build up my own business so I wouldn't have to rely on the military's paychecks. Because let me tell you something, having the military's paychecks is extremely nice, but it also makes people not work very hard because they're just so reliant on it. So whether you're just watching this video for entertainment purposes or you're just like me and you're in the military and you're trying to figure out how to build a business, this video will benefit you. So now I'm going to tell you my exact story of how I went from a broke 18-year-old to making $50,000 a month by the age of 23. And so to be able to tell you this story accurately, we're gonna have to start back in 2020 because that's whenever I graduated high school and went to Coast Guard boot camp. From there, I got stationed in St. Petersburg, Florida, and something that I realized very quickly coming from a small town outside of Savannah, Georgia, was big cities, it is very easy to spend a lot of money. So essentially, whenever I got stationed in St. Petersburg, Florida, my dad actually hooked me up. He found a dude down there that had bought a house that was also in the Coast Guard, and he was willing to rent a room to me for $1,000 a month, and I was making $1,800 a month in BAH. So this was a very quick opportunity for me to be able to save an extra $9,000 a year if I just didn't spend that money, because that was outside of my normal paycheck. And you know what happened immediately? I lost my crap in a big city. I started eating out every night. I didn't learn how to cook. I met my now wife. We were dating at the time. We were going out to eat and just living an extravagant life that I could not afford at the time. And honestly, I didn't even think it was that extravagant to societal standards. All we were doing was really just eating out a lot, but that is so expensive. Think about it. Every time you're eating out, 60, 70 bucks, that adds up extremely fast. What actually ended up happening to me whenever I got stationed in St. Pete and blew through all my money was 6 months later, Christmas time happened. And I drove up to Georgia to go to my parents' house, and I remember getting angry at them. I got pissed off because I was like, man, I came home to visit you guys for Christmas, and I had to spend all my money to come here, like 50 bucks in gas. I drive a Honda Accord, and you guys didn't even give me anything. It was the stupidest crash out session ever. And my mom ended up feeling so bad for me that she gave me $350 because something I didn't tell you was I had $0 in my bank account at the time because I was just blowing through everything. I didn't have a savings account or anything. That was one of the first lessons that I learned was, man, I got to start finding ways to be able to save money because I was really set up in the perfect situation. You know, people watching this, you're probably in the barracks right now potentially, or you're living out in the economy and receiving BH. Either way, it doesn't make a difference because someone receiving BAH that has no self-control honestly probably has more temptation and is blowing through way more money. And that's what happened to me right off the bat in 2020. And so right after I ran out of money, I started thinking of life very differently. Essentially, I started taking side hustles a lot more serious. And you see, I've been posting content on the internet since I was 14 years old, but right after that moment where I ran out of money, I was like, okay, I have to find something to actually make a substantial amount of money. And I also just got to kind of stop eating out. But one thing about me is we cut back a little bit, but I still like eating out a lot. I'm a firm believer in, find things to do to afford your lifestyle as long as your lifestyle isn't crazy extravagant, buying crazy cars, stuff like that. But if you want to eat out, figure out a way to make it happen. And that's what I did. I started doing Uber Eats. My wife actually started doing it before I did, and I saw she was making some decent money, and also I was like, well, I'm not just going to sit around all day while she goes and does, Uber Eats. So what I started doing is I would go do it at the same time as her, and I'm telling you, we were making like $30 to $40 an hour in Tampa, Florida. It was absolutely insane, and I got super addicted to it. Essentially what I would do is I would get off work early. I would lie to him sometimes even and tell him I was going to physical therapy. I know, like bad move. But I would do that, and then I would immediately just start door dashing, and I was so addicted to it. And that's honestly what helped me be able to save my first $2,000 to $4,000. I can't remember exactly, but that's what really started helping me get ahead. So something else that I was doing at the time is my wife and I were actually posting couples content, and that was something that was raking in maybe an extra $500 a month, but it just really wasn't that much money in the grand scheme of things for the amount of work that we were actually putting in. But also, something that helped me become very successful whenever I started door dashing was it just made my brain very entrepreneurial. It really started helping me establish things and seeing the world differently because I was making money. And so I actually started flipping Facebook furniture, and this is stuff that I recommend that people do sometimes. And the whole way that I actually got into this was the apartment complex that I was living in at the time. I had moved away from my roommate. He was pretty dirty and stuff like that. I had moved away from him, and people were throwing out some dining room chairs in my apartment complex. They were gone. They were at the dumpster. They were going to get tossed. And I remember looking at them, and I was like, man, those things don't look that bad, honestly. If I just vacuum them off, I could probably list them on Facebook Marketplace and make a little bit of money on them. And so that's exactly what I did. I took them, vacuumed them off, and I think I listed them for $45, and I ended up selling them within 24 hours. And I remember doing that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can scale this business immediately, because that's always the way my brain works. I start thinking very big, and how can I make this thing into a really profitable business? So that's what I started doing. I started flipping couches also while I was going and doing DoorDash and Uber Eats, and this became very profitable for me. The whole, name to the game is finding a place where you can store all of the couches and all of the equipment, but if you just get a storage unit from there, it's pretty simple. And I would actually go to places like Goodwill, buy a couch for $5 to $10, and then I would list it on Facebook Marketplace for $100 to $150. And I'm telling you, people buy stuff up like that depending on where you're at. So that business was pretty fun. It didn't make me a ton of money, probably made me a couple extra $1,000. Like I said, it's a little hard to remember at this point now because that was, 4 years ago. I've kind of washed those memories out of my brain. But something else that I tried doing at the time was painting mailboxes. So whenever I was a kid, I worked for this guy. His name was Fred Candy. He was one of the most successful people that I ever knew growing up. He owned an air conditioning company. And so whenever I was doing Facebook furniture, I wanted to find something else that was scalable. And whenever I was a kid and I was painting those mailboxes that Fred Kennedy gave me that idea for to do, I actually made a ton of money doing it. We're talking like I would make $500 to $800 a day. But the thing about it was I was doing it inside of HOA neighborhoods. And essentially all of the mailboxes have to match. And if you get one coat of paint, all of the paint has to be the same for all of the mailboxes. And so it's really easy. But the hard thing that I had a really complicated time finding in Florida was HOAs that were exactly like that had wooden mailboxes because termites there are really bad. I did the side hustle for a little bit. Didn't make me a ton of money. Did make me a little bit extra. But that always builds a lot of confidence because you have to go door knocking. And if you've ever been door knocking and try to sell something, it definitely takes a lot of confidence. Those were kind of the side hustles that got me into the whole world of being entrepreneurial and what really started to make me discover, man, I really want to find a way where I can make enough money where I don't have to rely on the military. But essentially what ended up happening was all of the side hustles that I was doing would not make me enough money to be able to live off of. And so honestly, I lost a lot of confidence from this. There was a lot of other side hustles that I had tried that really blew up in my face. And so what I ended up doing was I put in my packet in the Coast Guard and then I'm moving up to Charleston. I went to A school. So essentially, whenever you join the Coast Guard, a lot of times you don't have an official job. It's really weird. It's not like the rest of the military branches. And then you wait a couple of years and then you can apply for your job. And so I was like, let me just go ahead, become a petty officer, get rated, make some more money, buy myself some time because none of these side hustles that I keep doing are working out for me. I went up to Charleston, went through A school, really didn't do any side hustles during that time. And then I got stationed in Virginia Beach and that's where my life completely changed. One day I was essentially driving home from work and I was scrolling through YouTube and I'll never forget it. I found this YouTube video by this guy named Builderpreneur. And essentially this YouTube was about something called the Amazon Influencer Program. And I remember watching this video and he was showing exactly how it worked. And I remember thinking in my head, man, if I could get into this program, I know that I could absolutely destroy everybody in here because I'm going to outwork them and I'm going to make sure that my videos look a lot better than all of theirs. So I applied for this program. I attached my social media accounts to it and it took 4 weeks to actually get approved for it. I actually kind of forgot about it a little bit. And whenever I finally got that approval email, I was so excited. I remember taking a picture of it and everything. And that night I started recording like crazy. Essentially, I would get off work and that was the busiest I'd ever been. It's a specialty unit for the Coast Guard. It's called MSRT. And I was very busy during that point in my life. But I would come home from work, these long hours, and I would stay up all night just recording these videos, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just getting them out. And I remember waking up, a couple days later after I did that, and I remember day one, I saw, some money come in, and I think I made like $10, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually insane. And then it kind of just kept trickling up, and then 6 days later, I think I was making around $130 to $150 a day. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks after, I was making around $400 to $500 a day, and I just remember feeling so relieved and proud of myself, and I was like, I did it. I'm making enough money. I can get out of the military if I really want to. I don't rely on them anymore. I finally figured it out. But the one thing about Amazon is, and you figure this out if you ever do work with them, is that sometimes they do not take very good care of their people. They, like to do things where they make the most amount of money. That's all they care about is themselves. They're a great company. They changed my life. But remember I told you earlier that whenever I typically start something, I try to find the biggest way that I can scale it up. And so with the Amazon Influence Program, I remember dreaming. I was like, man, if I could make $1,000 a day, that would be insane. I would be the most successful person in my entire family. This would be insane. And what I ended up figuring out is it wasn't as scalable as I thought. I started making about $10,000 to $15,000 a month. We consistently did that for about a year. And then all of a sudden the next year it started to trickle down. And what was happening was more people were joining the program, and we were going to have to double the amount of output that we were doing, which would have been insane. It would have been like a sweatshop, and we would have made the same amount of money. So I started to figure out very slowly but surely that it wasn't as scalable as I thought. And I remember feeling very disappointed about it because I didn't own that system. I relied on Amazon for all of the money. And so I ended up actually leaving that unit, MSRT. That was probably one of the most challenging decisions I've ever made in my young life. I essentially went to the unit and I was like, hey, if I stay here and do, the deployments and the op tempo you guys have, I'm going to lose my entire business. And honestly, I'm not okay with that because I want to get out of the military eventually. And it was one of those units where it was optional, but I definitely did not make people very happy. So they ended up stationing me in Cape May, New Jersey. And if you've ever been here before, it is a pretty remote place. And so they stationed me here, and I didn't have enough room in my house anymore to be able to make these videos. And I remember being so upset about it. I was depressed. And what kept happening is the money kept going down and down and down and down every single month. And I told you, I had tried a bunch of different side hustles before that, and this one did. It completely changed my life. It allowed me to buy my first house, dump $40,000 into it and renovate it. I had a savings account with $50,000 liquid inside of it. I had some really strong investments, but it was all kind of coming to an end, and I had to figure out a new way to generate money. And so what ended up happening was, whenever I got stationed here, I started posting these financial videos on TikTok. I started talking about finances and how I had started my business before and what the military contracts were worth. And what ended up happening was the following just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had, like I said, I've been posting videos on the internet since I was 14. So I do have a very good understanding of social media. The only thing is I just never knew how to monetize it. So what ended up happening was we kept posting these videos. And as of this year, January, we crossed over to Instagram because, as a lot of you probably remember, TikTok was being threatened to get deleted. So we needed to cross platforms, or essentially we would just evaporate off of the internet. So we crossed platforms, luckily just in time. And what ended up happening was we kept posting. We weren't really making any money. We had about 200,000 followers across the internet to Instagram and TikTok. And what ended up happening about 3 months ago is this affiliate network hit us up. And it was something that I never knew existed. If you know what affiliate marketing is, essentially you promote an item, and then I would promote this to you guys. You guys would go click the link in the bio and buy it, and then I would get some percentage of it. Well, that is affiliate marketing, but affiliate marketing gets a lot more complex than that. It's actually very profitable, and I never knew about the other side of affiliate marketing. Essentially, the other side of affiliate marketing is, instead of me having to make that sale to you, if I just have a link somewhere and then you click it and I get paid $10 no matter what. There's essentially budgets that certain companies have, and they pay for leads and stuff like that. And it's insane. It's a whole world in itself. That's a whole video in itself. And so we got attached to this affiliate network where we were able to partner with thousands of companies through this network. And we started using affiliate links. So essentially what used to happen is I would make a video about high yield savings accounts. I would tell everybody in the military, hey, if you have a Navy Fed or USA savings account, you're kind of getting screwed because they don't have high yield savings accounts, and they're probably paying you about 0.01% APY. And that is something that I firmly believe in, and that was videos I had made in the past. Well, the difference is now I have affiliate links that I can attach to that. So then I can say, but if you guys want to switch bank accounts, just comment high yield savings in the comment section below, and I'll send you a list of my favorite high yield savings accounts. And if you follow me, you've probably heard me say that before. And essentially what happens now is I used to make that content and not get paid for it all. It was completely free. Now I make that content and I get to share this information with people, but I also get paid for it. So sometimes I can make anywhere from $10 to $40 a click for high yield savings accounts. And we have a bunch of other affiliate links that we can be able to take advantage of through all these networks now. Now I have some with a credit card company where, you know, as a lot of you know, if you're active duty, you can get the platinum card completely for free. Well, now that was a video I used to make, but now I can actually push my affiliate link in it, and every time somebody signs up, I get paid $500 for it. And so it's actually really cool because we're able to build out this really neat company that you guys are seeing grow, where we can educate people on finances in the military, because that was something that I used to get really frustrated about because I didn't want to ask people for their money. But this is something where I'm not asking for your money, I'm just making a video that I used to make and I get a kickback for it, because at the end of the day, Nike wouldn't be a good shoe company if they didn't know how to make money. We're not going to be a good finance company if we can't figure out how to make money off of our products. And so that's essentially what got me to $50,000 a month. The first month we made $17,000, and I remember thinking, what would happen if I actually really started to push these affiliate links? Like, I really started implementing it like a business plan, the same way that we post videos. And I did that, and we made $50,000 the first month. Last month, we made $51,000. This month, we'll probably do another $50,000. And this is just a business that is absolutely growing right now, and it's very profitable. I think that we'll be at $100,000 a month by December. And, if I were to tell you this with no context, everybody would think, oh, just, start social media, start doing affiliate marketing. But as you saw through this video, like, there's been so many different things that I have had to do. I've probably done 20 different side hustles, and all the sleepless nights and all the crazy stuff that I've had to do to be able to get here. There's a story in itself where a famous YouTuber blew up all my stuff, and my family was so angry at me. They thought I was a freaking maniac, which I was. And it's been that long road to finally be able to get here. And so that's what I'm here to do now, is to tell everybody my story and try to help educate people to be able to get to my position that I'm in a lot quicker. Because $50,000 a month, that is a life-changing amount of money. It's absolutely insane that we've been able to get there, and I find it very inspirational to be able to tell everybody else. So that's exactly how I've been able to get there. And like I said, on this YouTube channel, we're going to be posting about military financial content. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to keep supporting us, then click right here and watch the next video, or just stay on the lookout. We post every single week.